In this video, we're going to replace the Human Touch Opus Backrest Actuator. Insert the paper clip into the zipper head and open that zipper. Then, using a Phillips head screwdriver, remove the 2 screws that secure the shroud. And then simply pull the shroud up and toward you to remove it. Next, we're going to use a Phillips head screwdriver to remove the 2 white plastic covers. To give us access to the cable connectors. Pull the cables up out of the plastic cover cable guides, and then you can slide that rear cover out of the way. The cables we need to disconnect for the backrest actuator are numbers 3 and number 5. We'll start with number 5. Again, it's a blue and red wire. We need to follow it to the connector on the board, which is a green connector over on the left side there. And then we'll need to cut a zip tie in order to free that wire. Pay attention to where the zip tie is so you can replace the zip tie after we install the new actuator. And we can pull that cable free. And next is number 3. Which connects right in the front there. No need to disconnect and cut any zip ties. And disconnect that connector. And cable 3 is, and all the backrest cables are free from the chair. To remove the actuator, we're going to tip the chair onto its left-hand side, which will give us easy access to the actuator. Before we remove the actuator, we need to cut 4 zip ties that secure the cabling. If you'll note, there are 3 of them have a corresponding hole in the chair frame. Pay attention to these locations. So that's the first one. And the second one is just a little bit above that. The third one is up further. And then the fourth one, which does not have a hole in the chair frame, is secured around the chair frame. So pay attention to where the holes in the frame are for the first 3 zip ties, because you'll need to reinstall new zip ties there when installing the new actuator. To detach the backrest actuator from the chair, we're going to use a 10mm Allen wrench to loosen the bolt on the top of the mounting point at the end of the shaft. Once that's removed, you can do the same thing on the bottom. Which then frees the actuator shaft. Next, we need to remove the mounting point at the other end by using a needle nose pliers to remove the clip that secures the pin, and then pulling that pin out from underneath, which then detaches the actuator at the other end. At this point, the actuator is freed from the chair. To install the new actuator then, we first align the front mounting point with the mounting bracket and then push the pin up from the bottom. You may need to jostle the actuator around a little bit to get that pin through, and then replace the clip at the top of the pin to secure it. Okay, and then align the rear mounting point and replace the 10mm Allen bolts to secure it. After the actuator is installed, then we need to secure the cabling using new zip ties in the same locations they were secured previously. It's easy to remember where those were because for 3 of the holes, there's holes in the chair frame for the zip ties. So from the actuator, follow the cabling upward and you'll find holes along the frame for the first 3. For the 4th zip tie then, there isn't a hole in the chair frame, but simply secure the cables with using a zip tie wrapped around the chair frame. Next, we're going to tip the chair back upright to provide easier access for the cable connectors. Okay, to connect the backrest actuator cabling then, we're going to take the cable 5, which is the blue and red wire, and connect that to the connector, the green connector up on the left-hand side of the board. And then we need to replace a zip tie to secure that. In the same location we removed the zip tie previously. And next, we need to connect cable 3. Remember, this one has the connector, 2 connectors. So the blue one goes to the board in the front. No need for any additional zip ties. And then the white connector goes to the corresponding connector from the other cable. Next, we need to isolate the 8 cables that are coming from the backrest. They all have the strain relief, so they're easy to identify, but just to make sure, observe which cables are coming from the backrest. Okay, and hold them in your hand, so a little bit off to the right. We're making room to install that rear plastic cover. We'll slide that cover in from the left, underneath those 8 cables that are coming from the backrest. aligning the two posts, the two holes on the front of the cover with the rear set of posts. And then replacing the two screws to secure that rear cover. Now we're ready to start inserting the cables into the cable guides in that plastic cover. We'll start on the left side with the largest set of cables, and then on the right side, the second largest goes in the far right, and then the smaller cables don't really matter, so you can just insert those into the cable guides wherever they are falling, wherever they're falling. Once the cables are neatly arranged in the cable guides there, we're ready to install the front plastic cover, which you should just be able to place into position and secure using the 4 screws. You need to align the slots on each side of the shroud with the corresponding posts on the chair frame, and slide the shroud around those posts as far as it will go, and then lower it into position. Then simply replace the 2 Phillips head screws. And we're done.